Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Strength Side Friday. Today we are talking about back pain or back tweaks, specifically related to lifting or something that you might have done in the gym. Now first off, I want to say that any type of back pain or tweak is very individual, so it's hard to just give a treatment, and we don't want to do that, right? If it's something serious, go see a medical professional. But what we're going to do today is give you a self-assessment that you can do on yourself, and then this assessment is going to help us lead you to take some strategies towards correcting or making sure that this back tweak does not come back again. Okay, so the first thing before we get into the assessment is we got to understand why this back pain may have happened. So when we're doing any type of lifting in the gym, our main priority is always to keep a neutral spine, okay? So any deviation from a neutral spine, whether it is into extension or into flexion, is going to put us at a high risk of injury. And what we sometimes see is that maybe people are, say, doing a deadlift, and maybe they're not getting totally rounded here, but maybe they're going from hyperextension back to neutral. Nothing looks bad about this, right? I don't get rounded over here, but my spinal position has changed, and anytime that your spinal position changes under load, you're gonna be at risk of injury, and that's not gonna be good for you, okay? So Vincent is gonna take you guys through the assessment, and then he's gonna give you some correctives that you need to work on to facilitate this good neutral spine, no more back pain. Let's get to it.
All right, so the first thing we're gonna need to do is figure out whether you are flexion intolerant or extension intolerant. What that means is, if you're flexion intolerant, then you probably have a tendency to go back and forth between neutral and flexion, which is causing your pain. That kind of deviation is causing your pain. Whereas if you're extension intolerant, you're probably going like this, right? Moving from neutral into overextension, and that's causing your pain and making you intolerant to extension. The test that we're going to do to figure out whether you are extension intolerant is, yes, you're going to get onto your belly. Hips are going to stay on the ground. Put your hands roughly underneath your chest and push yourself up. See if you feel any pain or discomfort here. If you do, you're extension intolerant. Now the test for flexion intolerance is you're going to get on your knees, sit your hips back, and then try to bring your chest as close to the ground as you can, flexing your spine. If you feel any discomfort or pain here, you are flexion intolerant. And that is going to help us diagnose, or rather, that's going to help us identify the strategies to treat your back pain next. All right, so first we're going to cover extension intolerance. Now, what happens in extension intolerant people usually is their pelvis will want to tilt forward like this, causing that overextension here. So we're going to want to strengthen the muscles that will put us back into neutral. One of those muscles, those major muscles that will put us back into neutral, are the glutes. I'm going to show you a variation of the one-legged glute bridge that will help keep you away from that anterior tilt, as well as fire your glutes. And that is, it's called the Cook glute bridge, Cook hip lift. You're gonna keep your free leg close to you, right? This will kind of force your pelvis into posterior tilt, keeping you away from extension. And from here, just gonna thrust your hips up, firing that right glute. Because this knee is up here, I can't possibly get myself into a hyperextended position like I could if I was bridging with 2 legs. But eventually, you do want to be able to maintain a posterior tilt or a neutral tilt with 2 legs, because coordination is also very important, not just muscle strength. One of the other major muscle groups that we need to work on and strengthen and coordinate in order to maintain a neutral pelvis away from extension is the anterior core. You see these guys, when they pull together, you can see how my pelvis just gets right back into neutral. And that exercise is the plank. But very specifically, a plank with a posterior tilt. You may see people doing planks like these. Right? Notice how arched my lower back is. This is probably going to hurt you if you're extension intolerant. So what you want to do is tuck your tailbone underneath of you. Imagine you have a tail, right? And you're trying to tuck your tail between your knees, firing your glutes and bringing your ribs and your hip bones close together. And from here, I want you to contract those muscles as hard as you can. Notice how I'm shaking right now. That's how much force I'm applying in this isometric position. All right. Once you have the coordination for this, you can move it around to make it more specific to squatting and deadlifting. This is one of my favorites that I use for my clients to help them coordinate that. First, I'm gonna lay on my back, make sure my lower back is flat on the ground, right? Getting that posterior tilt. Here I'm gonna lower one leg at a time, maintaining that ab contraction, that flat lower back. I'm only gonna go down as far as I can control. It's perfectly fine if you can only go down this far without arching your lower back. But eventually you want to be able to take it out all the way, right, to the point where there's a completely straight line between your knee, your hip, and your torso. And finally, we're going to put it all together by actually squatting and deadlifting. I like the goblet squat to teach all this, to put it all together, because there's simply less to think about than the back squat. You know, hold the weight out in front of you. Start by bracing your abs. You know, make sure you're not in this overextended position. Right? Make sure your glutes are squeezed, your abs are squeezed, your pelvis is neutral. And then you're just going to squat, but remaining conscious of those muscles that keep you in a neutral pelvis. So here I'm thinking about where my ribs are and my hip bones are. And as I come back up, I'm making sure my glutes are being squeezed, right? So I'm pushing my hips through all the way. I'm not pushing my belly through like this, but my hips all the way through. This is a good one. And this is a bad one. Oh. We'll do the same with the deadlift. We're going to do an RDL, so we're going to start from the top, holding the weight, making sure the abs are engaged, the spine is neutral, the pelvis is neutral. Lower it only as far as you can. Come back up, squeezing the glutes. That's a good example. Here's a bad example. Here's a good example again. All right, and once you've gotten really comfortable at that, take it back to the barbell back squat, back to the barbell deadlift. All right, now we're going to cover flexion intolerance. In our experience with clients, we found that we don't really need as many activation exercises or strengthening exercises as the extension intolerant population requires. So we're just going to get straight to how we're going to apply it to the deadlift. We're going to come back to our kettlebell RDL, dumbbell RDL, whatever implement you want to use for the RDL. Make sure you're standing up nice and straight. Now make sure you're extended, right? Make sure your back is not round as you perform the deadlift. I want you to go slow at first. You know, if this is all you can manage without going into flexion, just do that for a while. And slowly work your way down further and further until you've mastered bending your hip this much and staying in extension. Once you've mastered that, you can take it to the barbell deadlift. What I find is really useful is elevating the bar. Elevating to the bar to the point where it's right below your knees. You start as high as possible to get that pure hinge. Right? Descend, remaining extended. Brace yourself, remaining extended. And as you get comfortable with this range of motion, start lowering the bar closer and closer to the ground. If you don't have these kind of blocks, feel free to use plates, feel free to use the rack. It really doesn't matter. Just get the bar elevated so that you cut your range of motion and make it easier for yourself to remain in extension. So that ultimately you will be back to the ground and able to maintain extension the entire way.
Alright guys, so that is our strategy for dealing with low back pain or any low back tweaks. First off, you're going to assess yourself to see which way you have some intolerance. Is it flexion or extension? If it's extension, then we're going to work on activating a lot of the muscles that we need to activate, like the abs, the glutes, and then really grinding that movement pattern in. And if you're flexion intolerant, then we're more going to take a movement-based approach to learn this coordination of how we can keep extension throughout our lift and not dump into flexion at those more in ranges of motion under load. The big takeaway from the video though is that we always want to keep a neutral spine, and any change in your spine under load is probably going to result in negative effects. All right? Hey guys, hope this assessment helps you. Let us know what you think, and we will see you in the next video.